There is one privilege that we as humans have that we find miraculous, astonishing, and beautiful. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is childbirth. Though some may take it for granted, a lot of young girls and even young boys look forward to being parents of their own when they get older. Most girls have dolls that they pretend are their real babies. But does reality often match the dream? Are teens ever faced with the fact that their perfect plan might take a small detour? Never as children or as teenagers do we sit and daydream about becoming pregnant or being parents in high school. Who wants to struggle day after day with the pressures of going to school, working, and taking care of a child? No one. But it happens every day to those who slipped up and became pregnant or impregnated someone at a young age. Those who were once seen as sweet and innocent little dreamers, who in their parents' eyes could do no wrong. Those who now hold the challenge of being teen parents. Let me stop right there. I can guess at the general thought in the room right now. Here's yet another speech on a social issue. First I'll present the problem, and then offer solutions. Okay, you're right. I will be presenting a problem, and I will offer solutions. But I can assure you, this is no ordinary speech. And at the heart of it is no ordinary person. But we'll get back to that handsome little guy later on. Today, we'll come to the realization that teen pregnancy is here and it doesn't look like it's going anywhere too soon. So what can be done about it? Well, first, we will analyze the lack of support for teen parents. Second, we'll examine why this lack exists. And finally, we'll see what we can do by giving them the resources and information they need to be fit parents. Teens are being shunned, excluded, and looked down upon by not only society, but their parents as well. In the 1960s, if a girl was to get pregnant at a young age, she would be taken out of school by her parents, for fear of their friends and neighbors finding out. Though it is no longer the 1960s, the negative connotations associated with teen pregnancy are still alive. As a result, teens lack needed resources from within their schools, communities, and most importantly, their families. With sex education not being a part of the state mandatory curriculum, there should be no question as to why these young girls are getting pregnant, or why these young men are impregnating them. According to Students Against Destructive Decisions, also known as SAD, 750,000 teenagers become pregnant each year. Most of these young women, upon learning of their pregnancy, experience an immediate sense of fear, denial, and guilt. When these emotional complications are strong within the teen's pregnancy, they often lead to the teenagers trying to hide their pregnancies from their parents, their teachers, their friends, and even their baby's fathers. From a community standpoint, there are many organizations that help with the prevention of teen pregnancy, and that's great. But let's be real. Not all pregnancies are in fact prevented. Inevitably, there are more resources on how to prevent a pregnancy than there are for those who are already about to become parents. This may be one reason why there are approximately 42 million abortions each year, according to the Center of Bioethical Reform. That's 115,000 a day. Of teenagers who become pregnant, approximately 35% choose to have an abortion rather than bear childbirth. Additionally, we all hear those disturbing stories about babies being born in toilets because the teens aren't telling anyone about their pregnancies. Although the exact number is not known, a survey of the Administration of Children and Families has found that more than 100 babies were abandoned in public places in 1998. It is now 2010. Who knows how high that number is today? So, why are some of these young women feeling as though they need to end their child's lives or hide their pregnancies? Why are some choosing to abandon their newborn babies? Where is all this shame coming from? Well, there are two places: our communities and our homes. Teens are always looking for a sense of acceptance from their parents, and when that is absent, they feel as though they have truly disappointed them. For example, my former classmate Ashley was 16 when she found out she was pregnant. In a personal interview, Ashley told me that the guilt she was feeling from becoming pregnant was so overwhelming that she couldn't take the ache in her heart anymore. She told me she was too young to be a mother and she didn't know how to be a parent, so Ashley had an abortion. With teens who have had abortions, it's often the same story. They feel abortion is the only option they have. With cases like these, it is obvious that these teens are not being made aware of their alternatives. So who's responsible for this lack of information? Well, in part, our schools, parents, and families are all to blame. But we can't forget about the media. With shows like MTV's 16 and Pregnant and Teen Mom, Images of teen pregnancy are being watered down. And we can't forget about the news media's judgmental coverage on teen mothers such as Jamie Lynn Spears or Bristol Palin. A 9-month pregnancy cannot be summed up in 30 minutes or on a magazine cover. So, how do we address the very real problems that affect pregnancies of today? Well, first and foremost, we must remember that these are all real people who are still learning to take care of themselves, let alone another human being. I know, because that's exactly how I felt. 16 and pregnant, try 14 and pregnant. I thought my world was coming to an end. I was not a stereotype. I earned good grades, and I was an all-star softball player for Western Little League. Okay, maybe not an all-star, but I was doing pretty good, and in my parents' eyes, I could do no wrong. So I tried to have a miscarriage, and then I tried to hide it. When I finally did muster up the courage to tell my parents, they were in complete shock. Well, my mom wasn't as upset as my dad was because she herself had my older brother when she was 16. The ACOG, or the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, has found that daughters of teen mothers often become teen mothers themselves. But my dad was nowhere near as understanding. He demanded not 1, not 2, but 3 pregnancy tests just to be sure. And when they all came back positive, the next step was abortion. So there I was, lying on the table waiting for my ultrasound. The people at Pregnancy Resource Center wanted to be sure that I was healthy enough to go through with the procedure. My parents were standing around me anxiously. The technician began to rub the warm jelly on my stomach, and then began to rub the transducer probe over it. All of a sudden, this little figure popped up on the screen. Out of nowhere, I burst into tears. Unlike others in my situation, I told myself, Tyler, you cannot do this. That is your baby, your responsibility, and you're going to raise him. So, I went home and began to prepare myself for my newfound destiny. I am now 18 years old, and my son Chase is 3 years old. His father's not in the picture, but he has so much love coming from my side of the family, and it's pouring out of his ears. If I would have never done any of this research, or if I would have never ended up having any of the support of my family, who knows where I could be? But not everyone is as fortunate as I was. With 750,000 teenagers becoming pregnant each year, we need to stop fooling ourselves into believing that abstinence-only education in our schools will solve the problem. Parenting and human development skill classes should be added to schools that don't have them in their curriculum, so that students can learn future parenting skills. And for those who are pregnant or parents, parenting groups, where teens and adults can both come in and talk about their issues and help each other out. Motivational speakers can come and speak to kids about their experiences and their challenges with being teen parents. Teens need to know their options. For example, there are many organizations that assist with the adoption process. Adoption Advocates Incorporated is just one of many in our area. Above all, our views on teen pregnancy need an adjustment. We need to stop listening to what the media says is wrong or right and do what we know is morally right, which is by helping these young men and women in need, no matter what their circumstances may be. Because they've made their beds, so they need to lie in them. But the least we can do, if anything, is offer them a pillow of support to make the night sleep a little easier. Today, we have analyzed the lack of support for teen parents. We've examined why this lack exists, and we now know what can be done to save them. Resources need to be at hand, support needs to be at hand, and love needs to be at hand. I've witnessed the worst of the worst firsthand when it comes to teen pregnancy. And I don't want to live in a world where teens are being shut out for doing what is originally seen as miraculous, astonishing, and beautiful. It's time for change. But we need to take these steps together so that others don't find themselves becoming a statistic. We're not playing house anymore, ladies and gentlemen. This is real life. Let's make sure that a detour in a child's dream does not become a dead end.